So while we wait for 7 o'clock, I thought it might be an idea to say to you, go and get a drink. Go and get a drink for two reasons. First of all, it's thirsty work. And second of all, I need you to have a circle to draw around. So it doesn't have to be a glass. It could be a cookie cutter. It could be a roll of sellotape, anything like that. But something, a saucer, if you want to go large, or something small, cotton reel. Do people have cotton reels now? I'm not sure they do. But if you want to go and do that while we wait for 7 o'clock to chime, I haven't got my glasses on, and even when I do put my glasses on, I can't quite see what time it is on my laptop. My laptop is also lagging about half a minute behind my speech, so it may be that you're watching me moving around and doing stuff about half a minute after I've said what I'm saying, but I hope that doesn't interfere with what we're trying to do. So if you've got a drink, sit down comfortably. And I'm just going to have a slurp of mine, because even though I drank loads just now, my mouth's gone completely dry. That's what happens. So here we are in lockdown. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm really quite nervous, so be gentle with me, okay? But I just thought, rather than just sitting around watching Netflix and all those things, which I have been doing plenty of, that maybe it would be good to have something to do that was fun, that wasn't work, and that was playful. And it's hard to play when you're stuck at home because there's always chores and things like that nagging in your ear. So let me just say hello to Tim, long time no see, hello to Candice, and hello to Wendy. It's really nice to have you all here with me. So I think it's time. I think we can start now. So I want to welcome you. Really, really, really welcome you. It's really good to be with you. I can't see you, but I'm hoping you're there. We're in a very weird space in time at the moment, and as I say, it's good to find things that are quite mindful and relaxing for us. And certainly this is something that I find extremely relaxing and mindful. And I did a little poll on the group page, and I asked people what sort of stage they were at with art, and most people said they were keen beginners. We had a few people who feel that they can draw stick men and doodle, and there was a couple of I can't do arts, and I always clap my hands when I see that, though mixed feelings, because it always makes me feel a bit sad, and but also it means that we've got a blank canvas to start with people who have that feeling. So before, I'm going to sort of talk with you while we do this as well, and we're going to kind of do stuff together. I don't want to call it work, because it isn't work in the work sense of the word. It's definitely play, but for some people, the thought of picking up a pencil and starting to do something on a blank piece of paper really, really feels like work, or even worse, it can actually feel quite scary. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but very first of all, we are going to just go back to the time that we probably last enjoyed putting a pencil on paper, and that's probably, for most people who didn't pursue art, it's probably somewhere in your childhood, somewhere late primary school, early high school, or a secondary school as we used to call it back in the day, and at some point picking up a pencil to do anything other than write became a chore. However, having said that, what's interesting is 75% of people doodle. Mostly they do it when we're on the telephone, and there's a reason for that. Neurologically, they've worked out that actually doodling really helps us concentrate our mind, particularly on listening. And if I had my way, kids in school would be able to doodle all the time while they're in class. But that's another argument for another day. So what we're going to do, we're going to start by doing some doodles, and this is like warming up. It's a bit like if you're going to go out and do a run. I don't run, but if you're going to go and do a Zumba class or something like that, any half-decent teacher will get you to do some warm-up exercises first. And as that is good for the body, just to kind of send messages to the brain that something's about to happen, as well as stretch important muscles and stuff, we are going to send messages to our brain that we're going to do something with a pencil that isn't writing. And we're just going to enjoy the pleasure of just running a pencil across a page. I want you to think back to when you were very small and you just enjoyed that feeling of a pencil gliding around on the page. And it is a very kind of sensual feeling, not in an inappropriate way, I hasten to add. It's just a really nice feeling. And it's very easy to do. Now, if you look on the group page, you'll see that I posted a picture and it says something like, "Don't underestimate the value of a doodle," or something like that. So what I'd like you to do, for those of you who are doodlers, I want you to engage with your inner doodle and just start doing it. Now, I'm going to do this in pen so that you can see what I'm doing, but my advice to you is to do it in pencil, just to start with, because pens are permanent, and one of the scary things for people approaching art for the first time is that feeling excuse me, I'm just clearing my throat, is that feeling that I've made a mistake. So using a pencil means you can rub it out. It's as simple as that, and then the mistake is history, or what you deem to be a mistake. So my doodle of choice, I have a few, but when I'm on the telephone and when I have a pen that works, hang on a sec, I tend to doodle stars. Do you remember these? So that's what I doodle. Sometimes I go a bit adventurous and I draw a three-dimensional box. And sometimes I just kind of do these, what I call frog spawn. They're very satisfying. They're repetitive. You don't have to think about it. And that's the thing about doodling, is that you don't have to think about it. You can listen to an entire conversation and fill a page with scribbles. And it's taken no stress from you. In fact, if anything, it might have relieved some stress. Now, if you're not a doodler, then if you have a look on the page, you will see this photograph that says, I can't remember the exact words, but something about "don't underestimate a doodle." And on it are some ideas for doodling. Now, you might think, I didn't come here to doodle. Well, this is, as I say, this is a warm-up, and we're just getting started. We're just getting back into feeling what it feels like to put pen or pencil to paper without the anxiety of trying to produce something that looks like something. So have a look at these. I don't think you have to switch off from me. I'm not very techno savvy, but it is possible, I think, for you to kind of scroll up and down while this live is on and be able to see the pictures and things that I've added. So hang on a minute, there's a couple of more hellos. So hello to Donna, Ginny, who's doing it with her daughter, Wendy Pryor. Great sound and vision, thank you, Wendy. If you saw the setup I've got here, you'd laugh because it's really precariously balanced, a couple of angle poised lamps, etc. Anyway, I mustn't get distracted. So, we picked up our pencil, hurrah! We're doodling on the paper. I so wish I could see what you were doing, because I always think that a doodle tells us a lot about people, probably more than we care for them to know. Back to the pen that actually works. Maybe I draw stars when I'm feeling a bit spiky, I don't know. Maybe I draw circles when I'm needing to calm down, I'm not sure. So we're doodling. Keep doodling. If you can't doodle and you can't pick something off of this page, then write your name. That's something that for most people comes really easily. Your signature. Ugh. Right, I'm going to bin that pen because it's driving me mad. Write it big, write it small, but just keep doodling. And while you're doing that for a minute, I'm just going to explain something to you. Something that's really very much important to me. And as I've taught art, what I call art rehab at the psychiatric hospital, I used to frequently have patients, clients come in and say, oh, I can't do art, and sort of reluctantly come to my class. And it used to break my heart that people felt that way. And the reason was, if you give a child, I don't know, a year old up, if you put a pencil in their hand and you show them that that pencil makes marks on a piece of paper, they are off. They don't need telling what to do. They just take absolute pleasure in scrolling. Often when they start, it's this. That is actually quite good fun. And as they get older, you know, they go through little developmental stages, and suddenly their scribblings start to make shapes, and they'll start to do sort of rudimentary circles, maybe even something like a square, and then they get to a stage where they start adding arms and legs, and maybe some features. They often leave out a nose, but often you get something like that. And when they do this, what do? We join in with them, we praise them, we take their amazing artwork and we stick it on the fridge. Because we want to encourage them, and we are proud, and we like to see them getting on and progressing. All children are artists, and Pablo Picasso, my husband's just left me another note, keep telling them what to do. Okay, keep doodling. When I finish this bit, we're going to move on to plan B. But keep doodling. If you've done enough of one particular doodle, try and do something else. So if you've been doing circles, let's have a go at some stripes. If you've been doing stripes, how about some wiggly lines? Like this. All of this is going to come into its own in a little while. If you're fed up with those, how about some little triangles? So what happens with these poor children? They go to school and they still enjoy art. They still really like drawing and stuff. But at some stage, they are told they need to draw something particular. And then, if they're not careful, they don't do it quite how it's expected to be done. And at some time along the line, at some age between sort of late primary school and early teens, they start to feel like they can't do it. And that is when most people start to get the idea in their head that they can't do art. And that's heartbreaking. And I always say to people, you can do art, you've just never had the right art teacher. And I don't want to go into the whole system of teaching, but it is very difficult to encourage each individual child in their own way to draw. And that's really what we need to do. So today we're going to go back to when we were however old, that point at which we switched off from feeling comfortable doing art, let alone enjoying it, and we're going to start again. And that's why we're doing doodles. Because doodles are repetitive, they're straightforward, and they're good practice. So, the next thing that people often say to me, you keep doodling, I'm coming up with something different now. The next thing that people say to me is, I can't do art, I can't draw a person, I can't draw a hand, I can't draw a recognisable horse or an animal. And I say to them, well, you know, I can run, but I'm not Usain Bolt. But that doesn't mean that my running isn't worthy. So what we're going to do, we are going to find a way into art that is really accessible. So we're going to forget at the moment about drawing things that are picture perfect. We're not going to draw a vase of flowers. We're not going to draw a bowl of fruit or a view or a marvellous landscape or anything like that. Things that even I would find challenging and, to be honest, a little bit laborious. So we're going to look at art that is much more accessible, and nothing is better for that than abstract art. Now, also on the page, I put this picture, well, I put a couple of pictures by this artist, a guy called Klee, who lived, he was probably born at least 100 years ago, and part of the modern art movement, so-called modern art, which is well over 150 years old now. And he drew abstract people and abstract landscapes and all sorts of things. And this particular one, which I find very amusing, is called Demon Woman. And you can see he's put a couple of eyes in there, but I don't think she looks particularly demonic. So this is option one for you today. Now, we're not going to copy this exactly, obviously, that's not what we're here for. We're here to do our version of things, our own thing. This is another Paul Klee picture. This is called Dispute. And to me, it does kind of look like a couple of people, perhaps one's holding a briefcase, and they're in a heated conversation about something. But as you can see, these are made up of fairly simple, straightforward shapes. And this one is made up of fairly simple lines and curves. So what I want you to do is to decide on one of these visions. So either think, I'd like to do something quite geometric like that, with angles and straight lines. Or I'd like to do something a little bit more freeform. So now you've warmed up your pencil and your paper, grab yourself a clean sheet of paper. Don't look at that, that's one I made earlier. In good Blue Peter tradition. Get a nice fresh piece of paper. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do both at once. So I'm going to try and do one angular one and one freeform one. And I will do them both in pen because you can see it better, hopefully. And hopefully you can see both of those. I might have to actually do it like that. The lens on this isn't very good now. So if you're going to do the angular one, grab your ruler. And what I want you to do, I don't want you to think about it too much. I don't want you even to think about making, like Paul Klee's turned his into people, I don't want you to even think about that. I just want you to put your ruler down, just let it drop on the paper and draw a line. Move it somewhere else and draw another line. And then, let's go mad and join them up. and we're going to do the same again. This time I might be cheeky, and instead of doing a rectangle, I'm going to do a triangle. And as I look at it, I can start to see something coming together, and hopefully you can too. Let me see, so I think something over here might look nice. I personally like to fill the page up right to the edges. I like to go large. However, some people like to do really fine stuff in the middle, and that's fine. There's no right or wrong. And that's the real lesson that you need to really take home today, is there is no right or wrong to what you do. There is nobody leaning over your shoulder like perhaps there was when you were at school, saying, no, not like that, no, the sky's not green, no, trees don't look like that. There's no one doing that. You can do exactly what you want. Now I'm quite happy here with my shapes. They're a little bit scruffy. I might need to put my glasses on if I can find them, because I can't really see what I'm doing. And this is the point. I'm going to go a bit crazy and choose a circle and just plonk that down somewhere, just to add a little bit of interest. Maybe one's not enough. Let's just try it here. Now you're doing this with a pencil. You can do it with a pen if you like. If you're feeling bold, you can do it with a pen. I'm going to do it like this. So there's mine. That is my basic starting point. Now, if you're doing this one, carry on doing that one just for a minute until you're happy with it. If you're going to do the freeform one, then I'm going to have a go at that as well. Now, it's really important that you don't feel like you have to copy me. I'm giving you an idea of what to do with your ruler to draw some shapes. It's kind of fun if they overlap. If you don't want them to overlap, that's cool. As I say, there's no right or wrong. If you don't want to put a circle on it, you don't have to. You might want to do a bit of freehand, just have some stripes on it. Something like that. It's entirely up to you. But that's phase one. Now, for those who want to do something a little bit more curvy, a little bit more freeform, then just literally put your pen on the paper anywhere you feel. The only thing you need to think about actually before you do this is how much of the paper you want to fill up. Again, like I said, I like to really fill the paper up. I like to go large. But you might not. You might like to do something dainty right in the middle. So we're just going to put our pen on the paper. And you know what? You don't even have to look. You can check your nails, have a drink. Oh, a sec, my paper's going to move if I do that. And just have fun. Now, I'm going to keep mine fairly simple, but if you really want to go for it, then go for it. It's entirely up to you. So, we've now got our two, or in my case two, but in your case one, unless you're being bold. Oh, by the way, if you want to ask me anything, please do, because my husband's online and he's going to pass any questions over or anything like that. Or if you want to say hi, that's nice. It's nice to know you're out there. Then please fire away. But I also know that you're busying about doing this, so you know, do whatever you feel is right for you at the moment. So now we have our basic templates. Now, for those of you who only have a pencil and a pen, that's fine. We can work with that. For those of you who have got colours, that opens a whole new world of excitement. Somewhere I've got some really nice felt pens, but I couldn't find them, so I'm down to my Sharpies, but they're probably quite good for this. Now, if you remember looking back at the amazing Paul Klee's work, and I would really be really happy if after this you had a Google of Paul Klee. It's spelled K-L-E-E. Some say Klee, some say Clay, potato, potato. But that's how it's spelled, and have a look, because he's done some wonderful things. They're really playful, they are colourful. He's really good at using colour and making up colour schemes and that sort of thing. And I just find them, it's really accessible art. It's not, wow, that's so amazing, I could never do that. It's totally, I could have a go at that. And that's what we're going to do. So Paul Klee's used quite vivid colours on these two particular ones. In this one, he has used colours very much in the same area of the colour wheel. And if you remember, if you've been on the group page, you will see, gosh, now I have to find it, you will see that I put up a picture of a colour wheel. And I said, oh Jesus, forgive me, it's here somewhere, but perhaps my glamorous assistant could have a look for me. It's here somewhere. Is that it? Oh, found it. Sorry about that. Technical hitch. So this is a colour wheel. You may well have heard speak of this. Designers talk about them all the time. But it's basically a rainbow. And what it does, it shows you how the colours kind of, the order of colours, how they kind of live next to one another. It also shows you things like the primary and tertiary and colours. Most of us know that the primary colours are yellow, blue and red. I have to think about that for a minute. And from those colours we can make every other colour by mixing them around. Anyway, we're not going to worry about that today. But the interesting thing about this is that if you choose colours, if you're going to do a colour on your picture, if you choose colours that are opposite one another, you will get a really vivid finished product. It will really pop off the wall, and that's kind of what Klee's done here. Well, he's made it pop because he's used lots of colours, let's face it. But in this one, he's kept it more muted, and the way he's done that is by choosing colours that are side by side. So the simple thing to do is, if you're going to use colours, you can just use all the colours like Klee's done here. You can just use the entire colouring box, because that is kind of fun to see what they all look like. If you want to actually design something that maybe matches your bedroom colour scheme, or you know, that you want to put somewhere where you want to feel a little bit calm, then choose 3, 4 at the most colours that are close to one another. So yellow, green, light green, dark green, green, blue. You know, and you set your pen anywhere on here and just choose its neighbouring colours. And that's kind of a very basic but helpful introduction to the colour wheel. Now, for those of you who haven't got colours, however, it's not a problem, because we have just been doing this, if you remember. We have got our doodle game going. So, I am going to, on my, let me think, on my freeform one, I'm going to do black and white. So if you don't have a pen and you only have a pencil, that's fine too. But we're going to, instead of using colours to pick out the shapes that we've made, we're going to use patterns. And because it's my go-to doodle, I'm going to start with stars. D, you used your wine glass to make circles. That is a girl after my own heart, if ever there was one. You go, girl. Wendy said she could only find Sharpies too. And there's nothing wrong with a Sharpie, and especially if you're doing a big picture, if you've got a big nib on your pen, you will be colouring that in at great speed, which can be very satisfying in itself. And you know, Sharpies are very sensory to use. And they squeak as well. They literally talk to you while you're drawing. I don't think they're in pain because it's quite high pitched, but they might be. Oh, Dee, now you saying that, you've made me really want a glass of wine. I'm gonna have to wait. How are we doing for time? It's past. Okay, we've got about another 15 minutes because don't forget at 8 o'clock we all go out on our doorsteps and applaud the NHS, and tonight we're thinking about care workers. My husband's a postman. He's still working, delivering all your online shopping. So we're going to think about him, applaud him, other delivery men, all the shop workers. Geez, where would we be without all these real solid people doing these jobs for us? So we need to finish in time to be able to go out and give them their due. So I have now done my stars. I'm really quite pleased with that. Now, when I've done a shape on a pattern like this, that is just an individual shape, and this is just me because I have a little bit of OCD, a lot, I then like to do something that is a fuller shape. So rather than going and doing circles here, I'm going to do stripes. And this is a little bit like using the colour wheel to make a picture pop by putting really different shapes next to each other. It has the same effect. So if I were to put circles here and then maybe little squares or triangles or whatever, and just had lots of little individuals, it would still be a really nice looking bit of work, but it wouldn't be ta-da. And I do like a bit of ta-da in my life, so I am going to also, in this one, I'm going to do, let's think, some wiggly lines. I'm sure, I don't know if we've got any children watching tonight. When I did my poll, I put one of the options was I'm under 10, because in my experience, if you give a child under 10 a pen, they don't need to be told what to do. They will go straight off. Their imagination, it's still completely at liberty to do exactly what it wants. And that is so refreshing to see. And that's what we're going to try and get back to, just that space and time when, excuse me, I'm a bit asthmatic and all this talking is making me a little bit breathless. Oh, someone made a good suggestion there that Terry Rogers, hello Terry, Terry, bless his heart, was ready yesterday. He was very keen and he messaged me at 7:05 and said, where are you? He was a day early. Anyway, Terry has just made a really good idea, and it said, if you hold things up, perhaps people can take a screenshot of them. Well, I can do that. So I'm going to hold up this doodly thing because this will give you lots of ideas. But you can also find it on the group page. So if you want to take a screenshot, if you're watching on a phone, I pray God no one is watching this on a big TV screen, because I do not feel up to that kind of scrutiny. I hope that most of you are watching on your phones or an iPad or something tolerable like that. So that's that. And if you want to have a look at the colour wheel, but also you can Google it. Kerry asked to see the colour wheel again. Here you are, Kerry. Here she is. Take a screenshot. My laptop is lagging behind, so I can't see if that's actually in screen. Lee, is that in screen? Can you see that on your phone?
Mine's lagging.
Oh, his is. We're just a couple of old lags. So hopefully you've seen that. So there's the colour wheel. If not, Google it. You'll get a billion of them. This is quite a simple one. If you Google it, you'll have ones that show you all the shades of the colours and do your head in. So let's start simple. Okay, Lee's got to give me the thumbs up. So here we are. I'm doing my wiggly lines. Bada bing, bada bing. There we go. And even though I'm kind of talking to you, and I so wish you were here, we would have such fun if we were all in the same room. But I'm already starting to feel a little bit relaxed by doing this, and it's something to do with using your mind and your hands together at the same time, but not doing a job. You know, you're not fixing the toilet seat, you're not cooking a meal for people who may or may not be grateful. You're just having fun. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to say, that's not good enough. If you don't want to show it to anyone, you don't have to. You can squirrel it away. What I hope is that you'll keep doing it this week. That you'll think, I'm going to sit down and watch whatever you watch, EastEnders, I don't know. And I'm going to put a book on my lap and get a piece of paper. And while I'm watching EastEnders, I'm going to do some of this and just relax. There's nothing like using mind and body at the same time to make you feel that sense of well-being. When we just sit in front of the television, we can sit and watch a film and not really notice any of it because our minds can be going like this. You can be doing a hard job, you know, or trying to work something out. But when there is a necessary conclusion, it's not always easy. Whereas this is just fun and playful. These just... Yes, Frances has just said that she does a lot of that adult colouring, and you can buy loads of these, and some of them are amazing, where you colour in pre-printed pictures. And that is mindful, and that is relaxing, and I'm not going to diss that at all. There's time, I've done it myself. There's time and a place for that. The beauty of this, of doing it this way, is that it's your work. It's all your work. This would not exist if I hadn't drawn it. What you're doing now would not exist if you hadn't put pen to paper. This has come to life because of you. That is creativity. Creating something that wasn't there before. And the only person you have to please is you. And if you're not happy with it, what do? You throw it up, or let's be a little eco-friendly, we'll turn it over and use the back of it and start again. There's no right or wrong. The only person you have to be happy with yourself is the only person you have to please is yourself. So meanwhile, I'm enjoying doing these patterns, but I want to do a bit of colouring now. If you haven't got colours, I don't know, most supermarkets will have some, even nowadays, may have a cheap pack of felt pens. You might be able to still order them online if you feel that's appropriate. But most of us have some colours around the house. If you haven't got colours, you might have one of these sort of pens with these nice, really fine nibs. And they're really good for doing small detail. And if I wasn't filming this, I would be using one of these. And you might have seen some of my work on my iCandy page. And I do a lot of this grown-up colouring in, basically, where I draw a simple shape, some animal or even just a heart or something like that. And then I proceed to use different patterns to fill it out. Oh, Stephen and Helen, how nice to see you. Thank you. Nicholas, I'm presuming this is Nicola Hillman, but she tells me she's got a swear word colouring book. Go Nicola. I think maybe we'll do that in the next lesson. Lettering. Okay, so on this one I'm going to go colourful. I'm going to choose my two favourite colour combinations, if I've got the pens, are two colours that are opposite one another on the colour wheel. Just get my colour wheel out again. And they are orange and blue. I love orange and blue. I plant flowers next to each other that are orange and blue. I buy cushions that are orange and blue. It's my favourite opposite combination. And with this, you can just colour it in block if you like. And that is very mindful. It's very satisfying. There's something, a little bit of a challenge when you come to the edge of a line. And then you get to come away from the line and you can just do that nice scribbly thing, you know, that little tiny babies love so much. Okay, so you can do the whole thing like that if you want. If you're feeling a little bit adventurous, you can combine the two. You can do colours, but also do shapes with it. So you can do a block. There you go. Oh, hang on, no, this is an orange. I've got an orange marker here. So I'm going to do some nice orange spots here and mix it up a bit. And I hope that you're kind of getting into this. I hope that you're kind of appreciating that you are making something that wouldn't exist in the world. And when it's finished, I am pretty sure it will look much better than you ever imagined you could do a drawing, and that you are kind of dancing in the same league as this guy. Paul Klee, you might not have heard of him, but let me tell you, he's one of the most famous artists that lived. And also, he's kind of the love of my life, because it was him and another artist called Kandinsky who really got me into art. And both of them do kind of similar things. It's the most accessible, interesting. Every time you look at it, you can see something else in it. So, and it's very achievable, as I hope you're finding. Nick Miles says he's got some watercolour pencils borrowed from work. Good bit of borrowing going on. And why not? You know how to use watercolour pencils? You colour in, and then you get a paintbrush, just dip it in water and paint over it, and it turns into a sort of watercolour-y effect. And I haven't mentioned paints, but obviously Klee uses paints. Good old Paul Klee. He doesn't use felt pens. I really like felt pens. There's something very satisfying, and they're very zingy. Colouring pencils is also, if you want something a little bit more muted, a little bit more graceful, then colouring pencils is a great option. Wax crayons. Nothing wrong with a wax crayon. Have a go with a wax crayon. And you can always do that thing where you do loads of colours and then you colour it all over black and then scratch through it with a pin. Do you remember doing that at school? I do. Anyway, but if you've got paints, then use the paints. And if you look closely, anyone who has got some paints, you can see that Klee hasn't just stuck to a block colour. He's layered colours on some of these. So first impression, that might look like green, but when you get up really close, you can see that it's sort of green on orange, and it gives this really nice mottled effect. A little bit three-dimensional, and it makes it kind of, it adds a bit of interest in that you can look at it really close up and see stuff, and then you go back and stand and look at it again, and it looks very different. It's got like a split personality. Wendy says she's loving it. Thank you, Wendy. I can't pronounce that name. Harriet, loved the session and really like what I've created. Thank you. Oh, so it's nearly time up. How are we doing? We've got about 3 more minutes. If you'd like to do this again, please let me know, because I really was just planning to do this as a one-off, because believe it or not, I'm actually quite camera shy, and organising this, even though it looks like chaos, I've actually spent quite a long time organising this. But like most things, when you've done it once, the second time's not quite so hard, and so on and so on. Much like drawing, in actual fact, practice, practice, practice. So if you'd like to do it again, then please let me know. And if enough of you do want to do it, then I will set it up perhaps for next week as well, because I think we're going to be stuck inside for quite a while. Also, I would really like to see your work. Now, I know I've said you don't show anyone, well, that rule applies to everyone except for me. I feel like I'm the woman behind the behind the gun, so I deserve to see what you've done. I'd love to see it. So please send it either to the group or to the Eye Candy by Helene page as a message. And if you give your permission for it to be posted on the group, then I can do that. If you'd rather it was just between you and I, then that's fine too. Completely up to you, but I would love, love, love to see what you've done. Don't forget, if you want to be more clay, bang a pair of eyes on. It's a lot of fun. I think this does look like a very big-headed baby, so I'm going to give it a nice blue eye here. It kind of looks to me like it's sucking its thumb. This one, I'm not so sure that it really looks like anything, but I don't mind that. I like a bit of abstract. If you've ever chosen wallpaper or a dress because you like the pattern on it, you too like abstract, so that's fine. So I think I'm going to wrap this up now because it's 15 minutes to 8 and 45 minutes. You've done brilliant work. I really hope that you will think about doing this again, not wait till next week if we do one next week, but you know, keep at it, keep doing it. I'd love to see lots of different things. My husband says there's lots of you saying do it again, do it again. That's really kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So listen, if you're feeling a bit stressed, if you really feel like, oh, I can't do this, cabin fever, if you've got a garden, take some paper and some pens out in the garden and do this. Grab a few leaves and draw around them. Do a leaf collage and colour it in. You know, let your imagination run riot. And next week we'll take this and we'll move it up a gear. But in the meantime, enjoy what you've done tonight. Thank you so much for giving me your time. And I really look forward to reading your comments after this. So thank you very much. Bless you all, and hopefully see you next week.